All right, awesome. Hi, everyone. I'm really glad that you're able to make it to this workshop this evening. I know you're all busy, so I'm going to keep this really short, straightforward, but I guarantee you that you'll walk away with a lot of clarity and so much clarity, actually. And so, like I mentioned in our emails, this workshop is not about surface level strategies like what summer programs to take, what volunteering to do. It's none of that. So we're really here to gain some clarity. And so let's begin. All right. So, okay. Junior and IB program, got it, got it. Okay, so we have a lot of rising seniors. All right, so let's do a little quick check-in before we actually get started. So you're in the right place this evening if you as a mom or a dad believe that getting accepted into Ivy Leagues and top-tier colleges isn't just an end goal, but it's only the beginning of your child's career and life. You're also in the right place this evening if you agree that getting accepted into Ivy League and top-tier colleges that actually align with your child's values, your child's academic interests and passion and strong skill sets, that's what's truly important. Because come on, it's not just about the brand name, right? And you know this because the brand name of a college won't mean anything if your child can't really find out what he or she truly loves to do. Or at least, if your child can't find out what excites him or her, or what makes him get up in the morning and want to do more of it. So what's the point of graduating from Ivy Leagues when your career is not fun, not fulfilling, and just not meaningful? And you're just going back, you're just working 9-to-5 jobs. Okay, so, but I get it. You're probably, overwhelmed with a lot of college admission strategies and tips. And that could really confuse you because some counselors will say, take as many AP classes as possible. Paid summer programs are not good for the application anymore. Huge controversy. Volunteering is not that important. And the list goes on and on and on. So we get so many tips, so many quick tips and strategies that we're sort of losing ground on what's really important for our child. Or you might be saying something like, okay, my son has good GPA, good SAT scores, so we're ready to go in terms of statistics. But what else? Like, what are we missing out on, right? Is there anything else that we can do so that we can stand out, so that, my kid's application will stand out? Is there another final activity that needs to be put into the application so that everything comes together beautifully, right? And in some instances, you could feel discouraged at times because of what other people are saying around you. So you'll hear stories of rejection letters about how the senior with high GPA and SAT scores but still got rejected to UPenn or BU or whatever. But do you really know their story? I mean, all you know is their statistics and activities. But do you know the entire picture? Do you know what values led them to applying to that college, right? And then the last point, you might be thinking, okay, my kid is clueless. We have no idea, no major list, no college list, no interest in anything yet. And that's okay, that's typical, right? And so if you're nodding your head yes, kind of, to at least one of the points that I just mentioned, then you're really in the right place this evening. So welcome. Okay, so let's begin. So here's the issue, you guys. Getting accepted into college, obviously, is just becoming so competitive, especially in the past decade. When I was going to college, we were saying it's so competitive, but now it's even worse, So the acceptance rate drops every admission cycle. And it used to be, 0.5 to 1%, but now it's like 3%, 4%. And the reason why? It's because it's pretty simple. More people are applying, right? More students are applying to more schools. So as you can see the chart here, this is a rate for a class of 2021. We see how so many students apply and just so little getting accepted. This is a Business Insider article that was published last year about how getting perfect scores on SAT, having the top 5% GPA in high school are just not enough for Ivy League schools. High stats are already a given. And 2 weeks ago, USC released that they were only able to accept 13%. And you know the reason, do you want to know the reason? It's because so many people applied. Do you see this pattern here? Excuse me. So to combat this competition, parents, families, students are looking for professional guidance. And we know that getting professional guidance, it could be really expensive. But unfortunately, even with the help, even with the professional guidance, students are getting rejected from Ivy Leagues and top tier colleges, even with the best GPA and best SAT scores. And I hear these from my colleagues. So where is the disconnect, right? What's going on in this industry? Who is getting accepted and who is getting rejected? Even with similar GPA and similar SAT scores. Let me tell you what is happening. Most college counselors give very similar advice to their students, okay? So they'll say things like, get straight A's, get the best grade that you could possibly get, while maximizing the quantity of your AP scores. 2, keep a running record of volunteering hours and get those presidential awards, right? Bronze, silver, gold. Attend summer camps or programs that are, prestigious, expensive. Well, not expensive, but they'll say, attend this pre-college program and things like that. Get perfect scores on SAT and ACT, AP exams, subject test. Run for the president of your club. Show leadership. So the last question is I've actually heard this before, where a counselor would say, yeah, where can you be? Can you think of a club where you can be a president of? And I was like, oh my goodness. Well, you're gonna hear all about why that's wrong later in the steps and strategies I'm gonna teach today. But it was just, it's be the president. But not everyone's a leader. And you don't have to always be a leader to be the best, right? Anyway, so I'm here to tell you that these general, typical, mundane advices are just, they don't serve much purpose anymore, unfortunately. And the reason for that is because, look, each and every student is different. And when the admission committees are viewing your child's application, they want to see something different, something unique. But not because they want to impress the admission officers, but because they really are authentic and raw and real, right? They want to see patterns. They want to see long-term commitment. They want to see motivation. They want to see passion. They want to see value. Do you see where I'm going with this? So here's what is missing when students, are talking to counselors or whoever they're talking to. And I'm using this glacier image because I want to emphasize that these are things we actually can't see, because we need to sit down and dig deep. It's something we can't touch or we can't really see. And what are they? Really diving in to your child's interest, academic interest. So that's major. Starting a passion project because you want to. So I just had consulting sessions with one of my sophomores, and she's doing a homeless project. And she was talking about, so this is a recent story and I didn't plan this out. So I said, yeah, we are, what we're doing is we are visiting homeless shelters and family shelters and things like that, not hospitals because they have insurance. So we're going to places where they don't have support and, insurance to guide them through. And what we're doing is we are, giving them gift cards. We are giving them goods. We are giving them food. And one of the things that she mentioned was we actually packed hygiene packets. So they put toothbrush and toothpaste and things like that, because those are basic things that they don't have, right? And so she was telling me all this good stuff. And I was like, so why? Why are you doing this? Why are you guys fundraising for this? Why are you packing, floss and toothbrush and all that good stuff? And why are you helping these people? And you know what? She had a reason. And she had a backstory. Every movie we watch, every book, novels we read, there's always a backstory, right? And that's what she was telling me. I was like, great, let's continue. Because you know what? Sometimes students do things just for the heck of it, just because they want to impress, right? And so anyway, I was just reading this bulletin note and randomly of her because we just had the session. So working on passion projects because you want to, right? Identifying strong skill sets and making them stronger. Mastering stress management skills and time management skills and just life skills, interview skills in general. And so, like I say, these are things we can't see, because you know why? We don't sit our kids down and ask, what's your passion? What do you love to do? They'll say like, Mom, stop it, right? Like, I don't want to talk about this with you right now. I know, my parents, when they would ask me these, when adults would ask me these questions, I'll be like, okay, that's a little corny, right? So in high school, that's normal. But that's what they need, right? To really identify their intrinsic skills, their inner passion, and whatever that they have that they could bring into this world. And would you agree that out of the ones that I mentioned underneath the glacier, at least one of them is something that your child needs to work on right now? So my goal for this workshop is pretty simple. It's to guide you through a proven system to get your child accepted into their dream colleges. It's simple as that. And so how do I know that this system works? I've consulted over 500 students over the past 3 years, now going on to my 4th year. 90% of my students got accepted into Ivy League colleges, and as for top 100 colleges in terms of ranking, 100% success rate. And you know what? Here's the catch. I myself got accepted into my dream colleges, UCLA, USC, and graduate school Harvard, even without best GPA, best SAT scores, best GRE scores, anything quantitative. So I know what I'm talking about here because I've done it, as well as my students. So who am I? Let me just give you a quick introduction, because I know you're like, okay, who are you, right? My name is Julie Kim, and I guide and mentor middle and high school students to get accepted into their dream colleges while helping them find their value, academic interest, and strong skill sets. I was raised in LA, Los Angeles, so went to high school here, attended UCLA, then transferred to USC, and ultimately continued my studies at Harvard. On the outside, everything sounds great, right? But it was not. It was messy. It was not fun. Went through a lot of tears to get to where I am today. So, essentially, the things that I recommend to my students, it comes from my trial and error, right? I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I have the system down. So when I was in high school, I didn't have a lot of opportunities to guide me through my values, my strong skill sets and passion and academic interest. My parents were busy working 12 hours a day. I didn't see them sometimes at night too. So I was never asked these questions by anyone. Julie, what excites you? Julie, what do you love to do? What subject do you want to learn more about and why? And how can I help you do that? That's the catch. Talking about it is not enough, right? You got to put your words into action. And even if you fail, you still gotta put it into action, because through that failure, if you do encounter any failures, which your child might, that's a learning point. That's a turning point, which I'm gonna talk about a little later. And to be honest, I cared a lot about the brand name and popularity. And even when I talk to my rising seniors right now, when I first take them into my caseload, they're like, oh, I want to go to Brown, UPenn, BU, USC. And I'm like, why? And their reasons like, oh, because it's like, it's pretty popular. sounds cool, things like that. So I get a lot of those comments. And I've been there before, so I'm not judging. And even worse, when I was in high school, I was caught up in GPA, SAT, ACT, AP, blah, 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 all that quantitative stuff, and never took the time to go underneath that glacier, right? Never, ever. I've done that in high school. So fortunately enough, got accepted into UCLA with business economics major. I was happy, but that changed very quickly. Class sizes were huge, 300 students in one class, couldn't even see my professor's face. I thought I was in a theater, right? And I was solving calculus and game theory problems, which I was like, what the heck is going on? Because this is not what I signed up for. And so I kept asking myself, what am I doing here? What am I doing here? And then I left UCLA and I started to think about what made me happy. How can I contribute to my strong skills? How can I contribute my strong skill sets? How can I identify my passion? What can I do in my life that I really, really feel passionate about? That was the question. And fortunately enough, through trial and error, a lot of tears, just a lot of disappointment, actually, to be honest with you, self-doubt, I found my value, my strong skill sets, my passion, and my academic interests. And that's what I want your child to do as well. Because if you find that, everything becomes easy, I guarantee you. This process does not have to be hard. And so there was no question in my mind. So unlike UCLA, when I was in Harvard, I was just so passionate about what I was learning. And I had no question in my mind. You know why? Because my decision that I made to go to Harvard was based on my values, based on my passion, based on my strong skill sets. So now I'm ready to share 3 strategies with you. I know I took a little bit of time introducing myself, but it wasn't really introducing myself. It was just letting you know that these are the mistakes that, molded this proven strategy. Okay, so the first step is to identify your child's values. And this action step is so important because without this, the other 2 strategies won't work. And the PDF that I sent out to you guys yesterday, if you printed that out and if you have that with you, take it out so that you can jot down some case studies for my students. Also maybe, the why questions could guide your essays and all that good stuff. So we're gonna get started. So here are the questions to get your child started. And these is not comprehensive at all, okay? But this is a good starter point. And these are the core of the college essay questions anyway, so yeah. Okay, so what do you love to do? These speak to your passion. You have to love it. What are you good at? These are your strong skill sets, right? These speak to your passion. What does the world need more of? Because whatever you're trying to do, there needs to be a demand for it. These speak to your mission in life. What can you get paid for? These speak to your vocation. These are just starter questions to help my current students get started. Of course, I definitely dive in more, and these are just surface level questions, but these questions will definitely give your child an opportunity to sit down and think, for goodness sake, right? So yeah, you think, yeah, what do I want to do? And why do I want to major in finance or computer science or pre-med or biology? Trust me, some students who start off with saying pre-med, they change their mind because they have no idea what pre-med entails and all that stuff, right? And when I give questionnaires to my students, the first thing that they say is, I want to find my passion. I want to know what I want to do. Yeah, college is important. But for me to have fun, for me to maximize my time in college and, all the tuition that you're paying, you gotta do something that's fun, right? So these look really simple. These are very simple questions, but they're really powerful. So why is this so important? Because number one, you're not distracted by external forces. With the values that you have and the academic interests that you have, if any opportunities come at you, you're not just doing them and grabbing them because they sound great. You need to know how to say no to things. You don't have 50 hours a day. Second point, taking action based on your values, you're doing it because you want to. So it's so much easier for you, for your child, and for the college application process as well. This process doesn't have to be hard and burdensome. You don't need to push your child into a volunteering center. Most importantly, identifying your value is lifetime work. Do you know how many college grads start their jobs within 1 to 2 years and think, well, what am I doing? 9 to 5 jobs, cubicle all day? Or if they get into the med program, I mean, some are really passionate and good, but I have so many of my friends who are like, yeah, I'm in this program. I don't know why I'm in it anymore, right? This is a lifetime work. And I'm sure you heard about this fixed mindset theory. And fixed mindset is what a lot of high school students currently possess. And there are things like, I can't do this, right? My abilities are unchanging. My potential is already determined. And I stick with what I know. So when parents say things like, try this, do that, kids with fixed mindset, they resist, right? So, this could really hinder all domains, right? Academics, GPA, SAT, extracurricular activities, and so much more, right? But what we want and what colleges are looking for is a growth mindset, and not just the mindset, but you got to show that you are skilled in this area. So growth mindset, failure is an opportunity to grow. And you know what I wrote about both my Harvard and USC and UCLA essays? I wrote about how I failed. Obviously, like, the entire essay was not about that, but a huge chunk of it was, right? I can learn to do anything I want. I like to try new things. So if I offer, if I say, okay, let's try this out, let's do that, you got to be open-minded. Because how do you know that that's going to be the passion and that's going to make you come alive, right? How do you know? How are you so sure that what you have right now is the best thing on earth? And, my effort and attitude determines my ability. Got to, that's what we need to work on. Got to fix that. And in addition to that, obviously, strong skill sets. So how do we build strong skill sets? Expose them to opportunities, get them in certificate classes, enroll in classes, reach out to professors, talk to current students, get outside of your comfort zone, right? So I want to share Cindy's story because it's very aligned with the things that I'm telling you right now. So she came into my program when she was a sophomore, and she participated in every club possible that she was eager to take. I remember the list was like 8 clubs. And she took all the AP courses, honor courses, because someone told her that taking a lot of AP classes is good for her because it shows rigor, okay? On paper, everything looked great, not gonna lie. And so I asked her some of my value questions, because without identifying that, we're not gonna move forward. I'm not gonna just, tell you what to do, right? And guess what she said? She said, I'm not interested in anything, and I'm actually not that excited about any of the things that I'm doing. So let me just get into the during college. And so I asked her, more questions, digging up and things like that. And so when we were digging and digging and digging, she opened up and said she just wants to make her family happy. She just wants to do what the society believes is good, and she just wants to get through this process. That's really sad. You need to live for yourself, right? And so a lot of mindset work and a lot of getting out of our comfort zone. And through that, and through those 2 years that we worked together, we identified her values, got accepted into Cornell to pursue her passion in international relations, because that's what she was interested in. She was also in a lot of legal summer institutes, interviewed a lawyer, and she was just really immersed in the international plus law area. So that's her passion. And now when she talks about, well, she's already in college, but when she was talking about all of the things that she gained through her volunteer, her passion project, summer program, reaching out, everything like that, you can see it in her eyes that she is passionate about it. And it's none of the external forces or expectations that guided her through. And at this point, I know I've been talking a lot. And you might think, okay, this sounds really great, Julie, but I don't think this is going to work for my child. So let me just address that. You might not think that it might work for your child because, my kid doesn't talk to me about his or her values. Who has time for that? I'm like so busy, right? And the truth is that it's hard for high school students to open up to their parents. And I know why I know. I'm not a mom yet, but I know because I work with so many students and they tell me, right? They say, oh, like my mom doesn't know this, but my dad doesn't know this, but, and they open up little by little, right? And so I'm not saying that this is true for everyone else. I know some children, they have great relationship with their parents. And so, and this is where mentorship comes in. I had a mentor when I was in high school, even in college, and even now. Mentorship is powerful because we open up about everything. School life, career options, values, college lists, major lists, and so much more. And there's no judgment here, right? I'm only here to help. I'm only here to guide, and I'm only here to challenge your child just a little bit, right? Another reason might be what values? College admission is all about competition. Let me tell you now, it's not all about numbers. It's not. Then everyone would get in. Then all of the surface level strategies that you've been seeing online would work, but they don't work. You know why? Because they're not aligned to a certain value. And so I hear questions like, Julie, what activities will look good, right? Like I get a lot of those calls and emails and I'm like, whoa, let's take a step back. College admission committees, Harvard, Ivy, non-Ivy League, wherever, they said, you guys, it's not about what looks good. If you can't tie that back to your essay, if you can't express it during the interview, right? If you can't even answer a simple question, why are you interested in this? Can you answer that? And can you tie it back to your essay? That's what's important. And those responses, they carry the weight of the values and the passion and all that stuff, right? All that good stuff. And so articulating your child's journey and values is far more important than listing like president of CSF, ran meetings, things like that. I would like to share another story that resonates with this action step. I think stories are just more powerful than me just saying, directions. So Jason's mom actually felt the same way. So before, Jason was focusing too much on SAT, GPA, AP, blah, 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 right? And Jason was also attending programs that were recommended by his mom's friends. And so, mom, I don't know, they come up with so many lists, like, the son went there, it's so great, like, we need to go. And he said, yeah, I'm just doing it because my parents expect me to do it. And when he said those words, I feel like I was being transported back to my high school years. Like, are we like telling our kids to just do things because that's what's going to get them accepted? Why are we working from this fear-based mentality? And so after working with me, he only took courses that aligned with his values. So we got rid of classes that wasn't going to serve him. We got rid of activities that were just only there to impress the application, which wasn't going to anyway, so drop it. And so, he navigated through this journey without faking anything. And most importantly, with confidence, with the thought that, yeah, this is good enough because this is what I'm doing. And Brown University, right? I'm not saying that getting into a good college, Ivy League, that's what's important, but he was real with himself and he got accepted into the college that he really wanted to because it was a really good fit for him. So win-win. All right, so let's move on to the second action step. And this is where you would really want to jot things down that applies to your child. So second action step is to make decisions that align with your values. So how do we make those decisions? How do we translate our values into action steps, right? So a lot of the terms that I'm saying are conceptual. So I'm going to give you some real examples from my past students. So here it is. Value. I value debates and challenging discussions. Action step. And these are just one of them. I'm just pulling one piece out of the resume. Join MUN and participate in National Speech and Debate Tournament and intern at law firm. I believe in the power of education. Action. I volunteer at Joint Education Project through USC and create math tutoring centers to teach multiplication tables to 5th graders. And this student actually did this at the local library, and she created her own organization with her friends. It was amazing. Last one, value. I like to envision that I can create something new. Action. Learn how to code and create an app that solves a problem. I had a student who was tracking CO2, vocabulary app, Instagram project, and etc. And if you, your child needs to identify the value first, but for the third one, create something new, it also fits into business and entrepreneurship as well. So that's something that, your child also needs exposure in. So these are some examples that I want to show you that it really does translate well. And in the worksheet, you really want to sit down and fill them out so that if you can't think of a value, or if you can't if you feel like the action that you're taking right now in whichever domain, if it doesn't translate into the value or into the interest or the passion that you have, then that's what we want to reassess and evaluate. And this is also great for rising seniors because that's how you know when to include it or not include it in the application. And so this is a roadmap that we use. It's pretty simple, but it's obviously the value is guiding your child through everything. So it's split it into on-campus and off-campus, and all the question marks mean that they all, I can't say, okay, join this one, join that one. It doesn't work that way. We need to first identify the value and then make sure that that translates into the activity. And so that's where we fill in all the holes and all the gaps and, things like that. So I love this map because it shows that, hey, it's open, right? We make it, we create it, right? So this is a great big picture chart. And what I have my students do when it's application season is we get those big poster papers, like the really big ones, and we do bubble charts, and we do everything to make sure that everything aligns and everything creates a story, and it's just a really fun exercise. All right, so I want to share with you Kevin's story because it shows why making decisions based on your values is so important. So when I met Kevin as a junior, came into the program with a couple of Bs. So if you have a couple of Bs, don't worry. And his parents were anxious that those Bs were going to ruin his dream college, his chances of getting accepted into dream college. And one other thing is that he already worked with a college consultant, and it didn't work out. And he told me that he felt pressured, right? Always getting demanded and telling, do this, SAT score is not good enough, ACT score is not good enough, so much negativity. And so that's why, it didn't work out. And so when he was starting to work with me, he was a little bit hesitant. He's like, how do I know that you're not going to be that kind of a person, right? So I let him know, number one, my job is not to demand you what to do. Okay, that's not my job. And I hate that because I've been through that myself. And, my job is to navigate you through identifying your values and then making decisions based on that. And I promised him that if he trusts me, and one of the things that he was struggling with was confidence, because his counselor kept saying, bad, why is it so bad? Improve, right? So if he's not confident, what kind of effect will that have on the college essays? Think about it, right? It's just, his essay is going to be not horrible, but I just can't imagine a student who is not confident and just not, is fear-based writing college essays. It all shows through. So ultimately, we combined his values in creativity, interest in coding. He was interested in artificial intelligence, entrepreneurship, all that good stuff. We found his passion, we found his value, everything, and we wrote a fantastic essay, accepted into UPenn. And at this point, you might have some concerns. So I'm going to address them before moving forward. Number one is this: no time. Yes, we all don't have time. That's an excuse. Your child is already spending a lot of time on school activities, volunteers, summer programs. Well, if that's the case, are you 100% sure that that program, that activity, that commitment is going to make your child come alive and make him happy, build his stronger skill sets and things like that? Does it align with his values? Does it align with his major and his dream college? this process right now that you're doing, jotting values down and things like that, it seems really corny, but this is a place where your child gets to evaluate and allocate the time that your child is spending. Because, yeah, it's just moving things around and getting rid of things that are just there because opportunity was given to your child, or because you want it to be inside the application, but it has like no relationship, right? So if anything, you save time. And one of the first things that I do with my rising seniors, even 7th, 8th, 9th graders, is we eliminate activities. That's the first thing we do, right? And then we supplement it with the things that will give them more exposure, more perspective, and more, opportunities, basically. No money, too expensive. So a lot of parents say things like, yeah, we can't join the summer program, so do you think this is going to affect his chance of getting accepted? Let me clear this side with you. Selecting an activity that aligns with your child's value has nothing to do with money. If your child really wants to help students who need more tutoring, more academic resources, all your child needs to do is find a location, find an opportunity, build some strong skill sets, and help out. That doesn't cost $4,000, $5,000. And this is not about how much money you're spending. This is not a competition. It's about what kind of impact and change your child is making on others and how he or she's building his strong skill sets through that. So we can't get caught up in how money plays a role in the admission process, and that's just an excuse. At least during the college admission process. I'm not talking about financial aid and things like that. So here's a really good example. I really want you to take note of this. So Victoria, before working with me, take a look at her before resume. So she was volunteering at a senior center, she attended a biochemistry research program at UPenn, and she was like really proud of it. Helped out at her uncle's CPA office, and then joined 5 school clubs. So she was already in there. As you can see, take a look. If I were to ask you to write an essay about this, would you be able to identify her values quickly? And what sort of fuels her into doing these? You can't. Victoria was involved in activities that had no relationship with each other, and it looks scattered and not focused. And take a look at the after chart. Volunteering at a reading tutor center. It's called Reading Partners, by the way. She took certified classes on child development and literacy skills, and created a nonprofit club that connects high school tutors to elementary school students. So they'll it's like you match them up kind of thing. So anyway, this is all her idea. Really fantastic. And she was so motivated about this. And now, if you take a look at her after, can you guess what her value is? Her value is helping out students who are in need, and her passion for education. And a story needs to make sense, you guys. It needs to make sense. We don't want to see random activities here and there. And you know what happens when that occurs? When you're writing the essay, I could tell immediately. Like when I get the first draft in from a student, and all their activities are scattered and not focused and not driven by their inner energy and things like that, I already know that it's not going to be a good supplemental essay, because a college application is a form of storytelling. And I was going to share one of my stories, but I tend to get personal here, so I'm going to stop. Okay, so this is an example of how we eliminate, take out, add, and allocate. All right, so this is the last strategy here, and it's to stand out with true authenticity. So many parents think that to stand out, you gotta be someone else. You just gotta be someone else, but that's not true. Why would you want your child to act like they're someone who they're not by doing activities that they don't want to do just to get accepted into the best college possible? Why would you want to be someone you're not? Because you know what? That's gonna come back. Right? I think I had a little bit of that when I was in high school, and it took me a while to really find out who I really was, right? So you don't want, we want our kids and our kids to find that out as soon as possible. So they have more opportunities. Of course, it shouldn't be rushed anyway. Okay, so let's get started. So how do you stand out by being you? So number one, spend time deepening knowledge and expanding perspective in one area only. So don't go jumping from one place to another, following what your friends are doing and things like that. So to give you an example, one of my students who's doing a homeless project, I don't know, I have a lot of students doing that. And so she was saying that, oh, I also want to help out children, children who need like toys and books and things like that. And I said, you know what? Let's just focus on this right now, and then let's come back to it, right? And let's really see if that's what you want to do, right? So we really assess and evaluate our activities really, really carefully. Number two, don't follow someone else's footsteps. So for example, I get this a lot. They'll say, oh, one of the juniors that I know, she took this, she did this. Yes, I think I'm going to go with that. That's her. That's not you. Third, show your commitment and dedication in one area. So by that, I don't mean like just do one activity only. So for example, if you're interested in computer science, learn all about computer science. That's what I mean. So HTML, CSS+, Swift coding, Python, everything like that, right? So within that one domain, learn all about it so that, because the thing is, you're not going to love everything. You're going to love like one or two aspects of it, and that's where we're going to dive into it, right? So, one area at a time. And so the student that I want to talk about is Sarah, who did this really well. So Sarah came into my program to get support for her essay. So she came into the program like second semester of junior year. Yeah. So in any case, Sarah was interested in multiple majors. So she was involved in a lot of on-campus activities, volunteer, had straight A's, and she had SAT scores 1,500. The issue with Sarah was that she didn't know which activity to get rid of or add to her college essay. That was the problem. And basically, she needed to create a story that made sense, right? So to put everything together. So if she had two passions, she wanted to make sure that they sort of like, come together, right? So what we did was, number one, we laid out all of her current activities, her resume, transcript, grade report, everything. Number two, we eliminated activities that wasn't going to come into the story very well, and then created a strategy for her essay that conveys her values in life and the little activities that led to another activity, that led to another activity, and then led to another activity. So we created sort of like a train timeline, right? And then using that, we created a conflict and a solution. So, what was her conflict? What led to that conflict? So what are the action steps that she took? And then eventually, what were the values that she gave? So do you see at the end, it's all about value, even in college essays. Read any college essay books that's out there in the market, they're always talking about value. So even in the essay, that's really important. So ultimately, she was accepted into U Chicago. So whatever we did, eliminating, adding, things like that, it works, right? And the last point is this. College admission committees know when students take on a lot of activities just for the heck of it. And in the common application, there's only 10, slots where you can add in your activities. So you can't do everything. You can't fit everything, right? So it's about long-term commitment, quality over quantity. And it's not about just attending one program like, oh, I went to, Stanford pre-college program. It's not about that, but it's about impacting at least one person and addressing how you impacted that person because you were able to, right? That is the power. That is what's so powerful. And that's how you get accepted into your dream colleges. And obviously it needs to be done in an authentic way. So, I'm just emphasizing this one more time. Look at this resume. 7 AP classes, 600 on SAT, president of student body government, pre-med summer camp, intro to coding HTML, 300 hours of volunteering with like presidential award and blah, 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 blah. Do you think people will be impressed by this if these activities are only driven by what looks good on the application? And how do colleges know that? By reading the essays. Instead, they will be impressed by this. Why? If they do answer it with passion and you could just tell, right? Vivid imagery, just all the feelings. Why did you decide to participate in this homeless project? Why did you create this nonprofit? Because it's kind of weird that you created this. What subjects do you want to study and why? And what did you do to learn more about this, right? What experiences do you have? Who influenced you? How did you make an impact in your community? And even if that means you helping out one student know how to read and know how to master phonics, you've done the work. Lastly, what do you value? Value, value, value. So important. All right, so there you go. These are the 3 strategies that I wanted to share with you today. Number 1, identify your values. 2, make decisions based on your values. And please use the PDF worksheet to do this exercise. And then lastly, to stand out with true authenticity. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the workshop, it's like step 1, step 2, step 3. Without 1, you can't do 2. Without 2, you can't do 3. Okay. All right, so what I have set aside is I've set aside about 5 strategy session openings for the upcoming week. And I'm offering this just to see if this is what your child might need or not, right? And so we're going to go through all the domains, values, activities, and things like that to really assess what we need to add, what we need to eliminate, right? And the cost is free. So I don't open up a lot of sessions just because I have my own workload and schedule. And so if you feel like your child needs this right now more than anyone else, go ahead and do that. And during this time, this is what I'll be doing. I'll be evaluating your child's current portfolio. So academics, GPA, class schedule, test prep, timeline, school activities, volunteering, summer planning, clarity, identifying what makes your child unique. So we're going to evaluate that and then see, what needs to be added and what needs to be eliminated. And so, all right. And if you're a rising senior, in addition to all that I talked about, we can evaluate your child's current college list and major list and see how I can help you further. College consulting, I think of it as a relationship. Right? So I'm not just saying okay, book a call with me, work with me. It's nothing like that. It's to see if we would be a good fit or not. It's like I always check fit, right? Without that fit, without that mutual trust, it doesn't work, right? And so that's what I'm trying to sort of assess through the 45-minute strategy session, because I don't take anyone and everyone. And who is this for? These are for students who want to get accepted into their dream college without stressing out or crying, like me in the past. Students who want to take their resume and college application to the next level. And I cannot emphasize this enough. The quality is just different, And then students who are ready to create their own passion projects, nonprofit organization, and businesses because they want to, not because I force them to. Okay, and I work with a lot of motivated and driven students because I feel like that's where my power comes through. I feel like that's where I can help the most. So, I work with students who are smart, brilliant, but a little lost, right? Just needs a little bit of guidance and support to wrap up their high school years. All right, so if you would like to schedule the 45-minute strategy session, you can go ahead by visiting juliekimconsulting.com/strategy session. For next week, I have 4 to 5 slots open. Once you get onto this link, you'll see the date and the time, and you'll be all ready to go. So you just select a date and time, and that's it. All right, so I'm opening up the room for our virtual room here for a Q&A. For any questions you have, please use the Q&A button down below to do so, and I'll be able to answer some of your questions, but I do have to sign off in about 6 to 7 minutes because I have another call. All right. So yeah, use the Q&A feature to ask me any questions. And within the time that we have, we will definitely dive into it, or I'll answer it. SK, thank you so much. I'm glad that you loved the presentation. So I'm gonna wait for questions to pop in. Okay, so the question is, we are confused about what to do during this summer. Yes, that confusion is, it's not uncommon. And for you to find out what you need to do during summer, you need to really evaluate, what your child has done so far. What is the value that you're going for? What is the major that you're aiming for? And also look into, like, are we going to focus on research? Are we going to focus on hands-on? Anything like that. Didn't get into competitive programs. Okay, yeah, that happens. If your child didn't get accepted into competitive programs, there's so many ways to go about it. It's not the end of the world. So for you to do that, you really need to identify, like, what are the skills that you want to master, right? What is the knowledge that you want to gain more of? And there's so many ways to do it. You don't have to go to a competitive summer program to do it, right? And so, and that's where creativity comes in. We look into passion projects. We look into joining with other clubs and other students. So I also connect my students to my colleague students, and they create something together. It's about creativity. It's about that spirit of entrepreneurship. It's about, risk taking, and, it's fine. So we just got to find that core value and that major and that academic interest. So don't worry too much. Maybe your child will learn from this. Maybe the essay was not written in a certain way, or things like that. And maybe he could write about this in his essay. I thought I was going to get in everywhere, but I didn't. And guess what I did, right? There's always an answer. Like I said, I wrote about failure in all of my college essays. You don't need to make one up, but yeah. All right. If you have all the participants are still here, so please ask me questions. Okay. It's so strange that everyone's here, but no ask. Okay, there you go. Question came in. Do you recommend doing in-person interviews? That depends on your child's major, child's college, your child's strong skill sets. That really depends on where your child is at now. Another way that I check with my current rising seniors is I do a mock interview session with my students, and I assess whether this is a good way to go or not, because not everyone can be a good communicator at this age. And so every time we make decisions, test it out, assess it, evaluate it, and then make a decision. So for that, it really depends on the child, the child, and the personality, and the college, and things like that. And for some colleges, interviews are really important. So you also need to research that too. So how much of weight do they hold for the interview sessions? That's what you need to check. Okay, so that's how you should go about it, Stacy. And in the interviews, they're going to ask all the questions that I asked here. Why this, why that, right? So. Okay, so I got a pricing question, very popular question. Pricing depends on your student's current portfolio, and so I'll be able to give a good approximate during at the end of our strategy session. It depends on the major and the college and the goals and everything like that. So there is no general pricing, because some colleges more essays, and things like that. So once we know that we're a good fit, right, that's when we can start talking about that. Okay, I'm gonna stay on here for one more minute. And then I'll be going on to my duties. So for those of you who are coming in from the East Coast, what time is it? It's like 10 p.m., right? So it's late over there. I hope you're watching this with like wine or tea or something relaxing. Although this topic is not that relaxing. Okay. How important is, okay, I have another question, so I'll answer this and I'll sign off. So how important is taking APs? I usually say, so it depends on the subject, right? One of my students who is gonna go into pre-med route for sure because she is like in love with it, she's not taking AP US history, right? And yeah, we know that it's important to take AP. And we know that, showing rigor is very important. But if that AP class is going to take her time in fully learning AP Bio and AP Chemistry, she's doubling up on science, then there's not worth to take it. So do you see how my answer is going to vary depending on the student's case, right? Why do you think colleges love APs? They love APs because it shows rigor, right? And there are so many ways to show rigor other than APs. I'm not saying that you shouldn't take APs. For the major that you're really interested in, you should take them. But for subjects that aren't much of your interest and it's something that you're not going to study further, we usually drop them. And we show rigor in her focus and her interest, right? So because that's all they want. And another thing is this: so when we choose colleges, there's a data set for each college where they'll say, okay, how important is AP, right? So for each college, that how much weight they put on AP is different. So let's say your child's dream college is Brown University and Brown weighs APs very heavily, then, our plan will shift a little bit, right? So it depends on, your child's major and what the colleges prefer, as well as like your child's time management skills and stress management skills and things like that. So a lot of factors weigh into this, this decision. So the question that should be asked is sort of like this, like how important is representing and showing rigor? And that's important. So hope that answered your question, Nicole. All right, so it's 7 p.m. I'm gonna sign off. Thank you all so much for attending this workshop. Every time I do this workshop, I get excited. And I hope that you really took a lot out of this, and please use the PDF to have your child assess his current domains. There's 8 in total. And so, yeah, thank you so much again, and I hope to talk to you very soon. Okay, good night, everyone. Bye.